don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah. Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
All right, guys, we're here. We're live. It's Monday, and you're watching Buster Unmasked. And like always, you can catch us on YouTube. You can catch us on Facebook. You can catch us on X. But most importantly, every single Thursday night at 10 p.m. Central Time, you can catch us on the Genesis TV network. You can go get it on your Roku. You can get it on Fire Stick. You can go straight to Genesis TV and download their app, and it's free, no charge, every single Thursday night. 10 p.m. Central Time. Look, guys, we got a heck of a show for you today, man. My guest tonight, man, he's risen to power quicker than maybe anybody I've seen in the past probably 10 years at one of our major pro wrestling companies in our territory. Look, the last time I seen this guy, last time he was on, matter of fact, he had just debuted at Premier Pro Wrestling, part of the Frat Row. Today, he's back less than 2 months later, and he is now the EPW commissioner. I bring to you Mr. Andrew Bates. Andrew.
What's up?
What's going on, commish?
Not much. Busy, like always.
Man, look, we're going to bounce around some, but let's just talk about the elephant in the room. Like I said, the last time you were here, dude, you had just debuted at Premier Pro Wrestling. That's been 2 months ago, maybe 3 at the most. Today, you're back. You're the commissioner of EPW. Man, tell me how this happened so fast, dude.
Look, so I officially made my debut in wrestling in August of last year. And so you said I made my debut at Premier around December, which is roughly around that time. But in August, I was the fastest rising star in this business. Before I even stepped foot in the ring, I was being talked about. Right. So when you got someone like that with my charisma, my style, and my skill, then it attracts. It attracts to other companies like Premier Pro Wrestling, and it attracts to other talent like Justin Klein, Brandon Savage. I became friends with them, allies with them, a while back. And, Brandon needed some help up at Premier. I helped him there, but I also kept my eye on EPW because EPW is one of, if not the greatest wrestling company in this area. And I saw how a certain commissioner of the name of Bone Crusher was handling things around there, even to the point where I accompanied Justin Klein to a show there and was kicked out. I paid my ticket and I was kicked out of the building by Bone Crusher. So I told Klein, I said, whatever you have to do to get him gone, figure it out. And if you need some help along the way, I'm your man.
Man, speaking of Bone Crusher, you know, man, he is a EPW mainstay. Longtime wrestler for EPW. He's been the commissioner for a good while. He's out, you're in. You told Klein if you need any help, man. And look, so let's talk about Klein for a minute, because I'm going to be honest with you. Here's the bare facts. You know how the wrestling business is. There's a lot of chatter out in the wrestling business. There is a lot of people that say, without Justin Klein, well, I don't think there's any doubt without Justin Klein, you wouldn't be the commissioner, but there's a lot of people saying that Justin Klein's the real commissioner and you're just kind of a puppet. You're just kind of the face. And he makes the decision.
Here's how that works. I have a ton of respect for Justin Klein. I have a ton of respect for Brandon Savage. And Justin Klein will attest to that he's his own man and I'm my own man. And he even made his point very clear when he announced me as commissioner that he came back to himself as being commissioner, which honestly, before he even gave me the phone call, I assumed that's who it was going to be. I thought he was just going to name himself commissioner. And he does a lot for the frat row. He does a lot for Brandon Savage. He does a lot for what they're doing. And honestly, I kind of agree that, you know, it takes a lot of patience to deal with all those people, and he's been dealing with them for a long time. So he had to find someone that he could trust, and he named me as commissioner. And I'm running the show. EPW is my show. That's my talent. But I keep Klein's input to a close sleeve, pretty much.
Well, look, let's talk about how this actually came about, man. Look, Bone Crusher and Daniel Nova had a match against Brandon Savage and Justin Klein. Now, Klein was actually in this match. And if I'm thinking right, if Klein and Savage won, they get to pick the new commissioner. Because actually Neil had came out and stripped Bone Crusher of the commissionership. Because
he should.
He'd actually put his hands on Klein a week or so before, and they decided it was best to strip him, but they reinstated him as an active wrestler. So match is set up where Klein and Savage versus Bone Crusher and Nova. If Klein and Savage win, they get to name the new commissioner. If they lose, they have to wear diapers. And oh no, everybody was ready for those diapers, but at the end of the day, Klein, like he always does, him and Savage pulled it out, man. But there was a little shenanigans, man, by hook or crook kind of in the wrestling business. All of us kind of seen that Brandon Savage had some knucks and kind of laid Bone Crusher out. But hey, this is pro wrestling. What the referee don't see, don't count.
Exactly. This is what I've been trying to tell people. So here's the thing. Since I've made my arrival at EPW, Bone Crusher and Daniel Nova have been a thorn in my side. And I had a feeling that was going to be the case. Bone Crusher is saying we want a rematch. We were cheated. This is unfair, blah, 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 blah. And I've gone back and I watched that tape. Now, we can look at the history of pro wrestling. And if you really want to look back at the history of pro wrestling, it goes back to a guy named Eddie Guerrero. Had a motto said, lie, cheat, and steal. If you ain't cheating, you ain't winning, or you ain't trying, or whatever it was.
Right.
And the people want to say that Justin Klein and Brandon Savage cheat. Now, I just think they have very good ways of making sure they're successful, because in the record book, it's not going to say Justin Klein and Brandon Savage cheated to beat Bone Crusher and Daniel Nova. It's going to say, no, Justin Klein pinned Bone Crusher to defeat Daniel Nova and Bone Crusher. I admire that Brandon Savage and Justin Klein always have something up their sleeve to make sure they're successful. And if you ain't doing that, then you can't be successful in this business.
No, I ain't got no argument with that, man. I fully believe what the referee will see don't count. And Klein, man, he's always got his hands in something. He's always got plan B, plan C, and even plan D sometimes. Speaking of Klein, here he is. He said, what an admirable man you have on here tonight, Buster. You're right, Klein. I like Andrew. I'm not going to lie, since the very first time we talked on the first show, I like Andrew. And truth be told, me personally, I think it was a smart decision making him commissioner. I mean, it tips everything in the frat row favor, in my opinion. And once again, this is wrestling. And here's the thing, Andrew. I don't think it's no secret because I keep up with EPW product pretty heavy. It's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, television product out there right now. So I keep up with it. You have to admit, dude, some of the decisions you've been making lately and some of the things you've done. I mean, you said earlier you're the boss, but I mean, everything you've done has kind of led to the pendulum being swung over in the favor of the frat row. And so talk to me about that. Here's the thing. Is it a conflict of interest for you as EPW commissioner to be so closely aligned with Justin Klein and Brandon Savage? Because remember, that's what got Bone Crusher. He put his hands on Klein, but it was a conflict of interest, they thought. So do you think?
No. Let's hold on. People want to say it's a conflict of interest because I'm friends with Klein and Savage. We're not going to talk about how Bone Crusher is the father of Daniel Nova. Like no one wants to talk about that. I think that's a conflict of interest in itself. Let's go back and look before I was commissioner, even months, up to a year ago, where Bone Crusher and Daniel Nova were making Klein and Savage's lives hell at EPW. So we're not going to talk about that. I don't understand. Yes, I'm friends with Klein and Savage, but we're not talking about Bone Crusher being the father of Daniel Nova. That's just insane. I think that's the bigger conflict of interest.
I agree with you on that, man. I like I said, I keep up with EPW, and I agree with you that there's, that didn't set too well with me over the past 6 months or so. Some of the relationship with Bone Crusher and Nova, but at the end of the day, I mean, I think Bone Crusher still tried to call everything right down the middle as commissioner. And look, Justin Klein come back and he said, I didn't want to interfere while you were putting me over there, Andrew. Yeah, Justin Klein's always up to be put over. And look, Mark McGee says, good evening, gentlemen. Mark, we appreciate you watching, man. I appreciate your support, dude. Feel free to comment anything you want, man. I got Andrew here. He's the EPW commissioner. So if you got an EPW question tonight's the night, man. Look, Justin come back and he said, everyone likes him. Everyone likes him. To know him is to like him. The only people who don't have ulterior motives don't like Andrew Bates. And I mean, it is the wrestling business. Let me ask you this, Andrew. Let's get one last question out from Justin right quick. He says, now hold up here. There is no blood relation here.
Thank you. Let's clear that air.
Well, look, that was I think that was Zach from Premier Pro that kind of threw that out in the ether that you might actually be, Justin Klein might be your daddy. I don't know, but so look, I told you about the chatter. There's also a lot of chatter that Justin Klein's rich daddy kind of greased some palms to help slide you right in there if the opportunity arose. So talk to me about that, because this is a little more than just, I notice this says Andrew Bates 2024 up there. And is there a little bit of a campaign shenanigans going on here also? Because
I wouldn't say there's any campaign shenanigans here. I think it really comes back to the perfect man for the job was Justin Klein. Perfect man for the job. He deserved it. But it goes back to Klein has a lot on his plate with the frat row. And at that point, don't have the patience for dealing with any of the people at EPW, including the fans or anybody else, especially Bone Crusher and Daniel Nova. So next best man up. Why not choose me? Why not choose one of the fastest rising stars in this business? Why not choose the person that at Premier Pro came to their aid when someone like Tigre was trying to attack both of them? I mean, it makes perfect sense to why he chose me as commissioner. And let's go back to what you said about some of the decisions I've made. And people want to talk about the Crossroads Cup Battle Royale, and I haven't had a chance to address that just because I got too much time on my plate address everybody. So in the middle of that match, I noticed that Bone Crusher was eliminated, and I did not see how he was eliminated. So I went out there and I spoke with the referees. I make sure that my referees are doing their job. And I was speaking with them, and when we looked up, Daniel Nova was thrown over the top rope, and Brandon Savage had won the match. And people want to say I cheated Daniel Nova. Well, I don't see it that way. Me plus the ref saw Brandon win. So there's that. And then let's jump to the week after that, where Daniel's in the ring throwing a hissy fit about give me what I want, give me what I want. I want Commissioner Bates out here to give me what I want, or I'm gonna go back there and drag you out here. No, kid, that's not how this is gonna work. And so what happens when you interrupt my show and interrupt my time? You get put in a handicap match. So I think everything is pretty much fair.
Well, look, talking about the Crossroads Cup Battle Royal, I mean, do you not think that timing when you had to talk to the ref, do you not think that was almost just perfect timing? Is that a little coincidental or what, dude? Because I watched that, man, and, you know, first of all, hold on. One thing we didn't mention was that Bone Crusher was out on the floor because Justin Klein grabbed him by his ankle and jerked him out on the floor and then pointed it out to the officials. So let's address that, man. Let's address Bone Crusher being pulled out by Justin Klein for a minute.
Okay, so let's go back to every single time that Bone Crusher has screwed Justin Klein and Brandon Savage out of anything at EPW. And even that Bone Crusher is not commissioner anymore, he's still trying to make their lives hell. So when I go back and watch the tape and I see that Justin Klein pulled Bone Crusher underneath the ring and eliminated him, I mean, is there really any? I mean, there in a battle royal, there's no DQ.
Well,
I could have jumped in there and hit somebody with a chair. Ain't nothing gonna happen. The rules state you got to go throw over the top rope and both feet at the floor by any means necessary. And Bone Crusher hit the floor, so both feet. The ref saw it at that point. He's gone.
Well, look, Eric J's in here, and I know you know Eric, Premier Pro guy all the way. He said, what's going on, guys? Hope you guys are doing good. What's up, Eric? I appreciate you watching, man, as always. You've been killing any fish, man? Last couple of weeks have been killing the fish, dude. Look, Justin's back, and he said, you can look at this man and tell he stands on business. Guaranteed he was president of the FBLA. Damn. All right, Klein's already getting deep. Look, Mark's back, and he says, what's up, Justin? I hope your night's going great. Justin, man, Justin's killing me with these long comments. I'm about to start letting you narrate Justin's comments. Why don't we do that? Can you see that? You do Justin's comments from this point on, and I'll do everybody else's.
Yeah, see, it's right. You can't please people. I was trying to get clarification of why Bone Crusher was eliminated, and the refs were giving me their input. They were the ones that saw it. So and then the worst part is while I'm talking to my referees, the ones that actually matter are making decisions in that match. I have people over here to my right yapping in my ear, telling me what this happened and this happened. I ain't listened to your inferior comments. Okay, I was more worried about what happened in the match. I was trying to get clarification, and I get thrown under the bus for it, man.
Well, look, so I'm assuming you're not one of those. You're one of those guys that the referee's decision stands, because you've done mention that you have gone back and watched some of this stuff back, and some of the things that's happened, you've let the referee's decision stand. So I'm assuming that you're pro. I mean, what are you watching video for?
I trust my referees. I trust my referees. See, I watched video on the Battle Royale because there was a little controversy. I wanted to figure it out, and after the end of the day, I saw that the ref's decision is final, that Brandon had won. And when I made my debut, I saw that, the big thing around was go back and watch the tag team match that made me commissioner. And I did that, and all I see is Justin Klein pinning Bone Crusher. 1, 2, 3, that's it. So again, the referee's decision stands.
There you go. Look, Justin came back. He said, "Stop badgering the guests." We
I know,
said,
right?
look, man, I ain't really badgering you, but we're just getting ready for this DNA test somewhere down the line, man. We got to do it. We got to do this DNA test, man. I think y'all are in the same house right now, to be honest with you.
Just take our word for it.
I think Klein's in the bathroom, probably.
Oh, my God.
There ain't no telling, man. All right, Klein's back, and he said, "I know it's a lot to read for you, know, old country boy. It's hard for old country boy to read all this shit, man. All these big lawyer words, man, that Justin be putting out." Brian Rogers is watching. What's up, Brian? I know you got your eyes on this because this dude's coming up, man. You got a thing with PPW in Dyer, Tennessee. You're gonna be back, man, and I'm sure they're keeping an eye on what's going on with you. Let me ask you this: do you have your sights set on maybe becoming the authority figure at Premier Pro Wrestling also?
Look, and actually, there are a few people at Premier Pro Wrestling that want me to be their commissioner. And, I think that's just a lot. I think it's a lot to be able to handle Premier and EPW at the same time. And I have some other motives and some other plans in mind for Premier Pro Wrestling.
Well, look, dude, I told you we was going to bounce around. We've kind of touched on EPW, Premier Pro, Klein, the situation with him and Bone Crusher, and we're going to circle back around to that. But look, you're the new commissioner, so let's go all the way back for a few minutes, Andrew, and take me all the way back to the beginning, before wrestling and everything. Tell me how you was raised, man, what kind of parents you had, what kind of stock you come from. Tell us who Andrew Bates is as a human being and a person.
Andrew Bates is a guy that should be, and most of the time is admired by everyone. I respect both my parents for raising me for, the man I am today. And I was raised by a wonderful, wonderful family. And a lot of their insight is the reason why I gained so much power in wrestling, I believe. Because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am, honestly.
Well, you say insight, Andrew, but I've kind of heard that you kind of growed up with a silver spoon in your mouth, dude. Is that true?
Look, if you grew up with a silver spoon in your mouth, who the hell cares?
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, obviously, you had all the advantages in life. I mean, when you grow up and you got influential parents, which I've heard you do have. Like I said, I've heard you come from money. So there's a lot of things that people who come from that background have accessible to them that other people don't. So let me ask you this: do you feel like that you earned this commissionership by your own merits, or do you feel like that? I mean, let's go back to the beginning. Do you feel like that if it wasn't for Klein, you wouldn't even be in this position? Where would you be if Justin Klein hadn't made you EPW commissioner?
I'd be at EPW.
What would you be doing?
Let's go back. Let's go back to what I said when I said I premiered in this world of wrestling back in August of last year. I've done more in less than a year. I've done more in 6 months than most people have done in this business. So it was only a matter of time before I made it to Premier Pro Wrestling, before I made it to EPW, before I make it anywhere. It was only a matter of time.
Well, look, we got Mark here, and he says, "I don't blame companies for wanting Commissioner Andrew Bates as commissioner in their company. He does an amazing job." You got a fan there.
Thank you. At least someone has a brain.
And Justin's back, and he said, he didn't come from a typical Mississippi Jerry Springer inspired family. So look, man, you ain't gonna be bashing Jerry Springer on here, man.
I think it's needed.
The 90s was all about Springer. If you can't chant Springer, man, I'm going to have to shut Justin Klein's comments off, Andrew.
No, let's not do that.
So look, man, so let's talk about what got you into wrestling then? Like you said, you debuted months before I ever seen you. So how did you get into this crazy ass business, dude?
So, like most people, I grew up watching this business. Okay, I grew up. I got introduced to wrestling when I was 5 years old, and I was not the most typical wrestling fan. And during my childhood, you had the likes of John Cena, you had Randy Orton, you had Triple H. You know, you had all these guys, and everyone wanted the John Cena shirts, and everyone wanted, Rey Mysterio and guys like that. I wanted people with power. I was, guys like JBL, guys with power who, could whip your tail if they needed to. Okay. But
Right.
I grew up watching this business. I grew up loving this business, and I knew I could make an impact in this business. And so, come August of 2023, I stepped foot into OWO, which is a wrestling company down here in Mississippi, mid-Mississippi. And I
Right.
stepped foot in there, and I blow the roof off the place. Before I step foot in the ring, before I hold a microphone in my hand, people wanted to know where I was going to be because I was the fastest rising star.
Dude, you said it earlier. People were talking about you before they ever seen you, because I'd heard about you before I ever seen you. I'd heard Andrew Bates, man, you got to see this dude. You won't believe this dude. And I will say this, man, when I seen you at Premier Pro the very first time, I was impressed with you. Here's the thing. And on EPW, I'm impressed with you because for no longer than you've been in this business, you keep you're calm, you're collected, you have composure, especially on the TV cameras. When the lights are on, you do not falter. And most people with the amount of experience you had would never be able to do what you're doing right now.
Because they couldn't walk a mile in my shoes anyway.
So what do you attribute that to? I mean, you just kind of jumped right into wrestling less than a year ago, and I mean, you kind of rose straight to the top of EPW. You've got more power than pretty much anybody at EPW right now, I guess, other than Neil Taylor. And so talk to me about, did you think Andrew Bates would make the impact he has as fast as he has?
110%. 110%. See, not only do I love this business, but I've done my research, I have done my training, and guys like me who looked up to guys like JBL, and even looked up to guys like Ric Flair and Paul Heyman, I saw the confidence that they had growing up, and I knew I could have that. And so I feel at home when I'm given a microphone in hand, because on that microphone, whether I'm on the microphone, whether I'm in the ring, whether you put me on commentary, no matter where you put me on the show, nobody can touch me.
So you trained as a wrestler then, right?
I've done my training.
Okay.
I've done some training, yes.
Okay, look, let's get these few comments in. Justin was up there. He said, you sound like you should be working at MSNBC with this nonsense, trying to guilt the man for coming from good stock. Really wasn't like that. Look, Kyle Driver, he said, yo, what's up, Kyle? I'm glad you're watching, dude. Justin's back, of course. Guys like us actually have it harder because you poors pigeonhole us and want us to fail, want to see us fail.
Exactly.
Poors. Why we got to be poors, man? We men of the people, dude. Justin comes back and says facts. Mark McGee's back. He said, Commissioner Bates, Buster, and I have been around since the Stone Age of wrestling. So my question is there anyone you studied between the 70s to the mid-90s? Did you got any influences from the 70s to the mid-90s?
Let's see. Ric Flair, obviously. Ric Flair was the man of the 80s, pretty much. And, right. 70s too, but also the 80s. And also guys like, the man of the 90s, which the 90s would not be what it was without Shawn Michaels. Those are two guys that I've looked up to, because there are guys who, 50 years from now, they'll be looked at as still one of the greatest to ever do it, if not the greatest. Shawn retired in 2010, and there's still a ton of people out there that say, including myself, that say he is the greatest in-ring performer in this business ever. Won't be touched. And you have guys like Ric Flair. Ric Flair was great in the ring, but I promise you, when it came to his charisma, his style, and his talking to the mic, you couldn't touch him.
Right. Now, Flair's the man of the 80s, and Shawn was definitely the man of the 90s. There's
Absolutely.
no doubt about that whatsoever. Look, Kyle Driver's back, and he says, what made you want to join the wrestling business, and when will you start wrestling?
So what made me want to join the wrestling business was, let's go back to when I was a child. I was 9 years old. I was watching, this is, going to show how young I am. I was watching WrestleMania 25, Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker, which I think, in my mind, is not only the greatest match in WrestleMania history, but it's the greatest match in wrestling history. I was watching that match, and I knew from that moment on, I want to be in this business. And when will you start wrestling? I've wrestled a match. I wrestled at Premier Pro Wrestling. That's where I made my in-ring debut. We got cheated out of the match, but it's okay. It's okay.
Look, Jason Melton's here, and he said, how old is this guy? So how old are you, Mr. Commissioner Bates?
I'm 24. I'll be 25 in a few months. I'm 24 years old. People want to say 12 and 15 and crap. No.
Jesus Christ. Do you, at 24, man, do you honestly think you got the knowledge and experience to be a commissioner of one of the biggest companies around our territory?
Absolutely, I do.
And kind of give me some reasons why you feel that way. Because I look, as a former wrestler, I hate to break it to you, but watching Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels don't give you the experience you need to make decisions in this business. So tell me why you feel like you do have the experience that you need to do this job properly, man. It's a big deal being EPW commissioner, dude. It's a huge deal.
It is. It is. I think I am young. I'm 24 years old. A guy like Randy Orton is still hitting his stride in his career, and he became world champion at 24 years old. So I have a long way. I have a long way to go. And I still think there's some stuff I can learn in this business along the way. That's why I associate with guys like Klein and Savage. But also, I do stuff behind scenes too. I'm learning from, when you look of who runs the show, I am the commissioner. I make those decisions, but I also have a guy who's right behind me at Neil Taylor. Neil Taylor is the owner of that company. Neil Taylor has made sure that company is what it is today. And so if I give the man props for what he's done. He has taken EPW and ran with it and continue to go. So I take a lot of advice from him too. But also, if you go back and look at the stuff that, let's say, it's controversial to say his name, but Vince McMahon. Look at the stuff that he did. WWE would not be what it is today without him. The greatest GM of all time was Eric Bischoff. Look at the stuff he did. If you go back and look at the history, you can make sure you're successful in this business, which is what I'm doing. I am successful. I'm 24 years old. Yes, I am young, but I still feel like I can make a bigger impact right now than Bone Crusher ever did as commissioner.
Big words, man. Look, I think we might have the first little dissension between you and Klein. He said, we're gonna have to agree to disagree on this Shawn Michaels thing, Team Heart.
No.
Man,
no.
I look.
I'll give Bret Hart credit. He is probably one of the best technical wrestlers ever. And at the start of the 90s, maybe the 90s was supposed to be Bret Hart's time, but they got overshadowed by someone 10 times better than Bret, and that's Shawn Michaels.
Man,
that's a touchy subject too. That can go back and forth. The two guys that ran the 90s were Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. And I'm not going to hate on someone that, especially Klein, that likes Bret Hart and thinks he's better than Shawn. You know, that's a subject can go back and forth. You know, they both have huge accomplishments in this business. So
right. No, both of them great, dude. Like I'm like y'all. That Iron Man match is probably, truthfully, it's probably the best Iron Man match that we've ever seen in modern time. There wasn't a bunch of bullshit. There wasn't a bunch of wrestling. Those two guys went out there and wrestled their asses off for over an hour. Badass dudes, man. Badass dudes. Look, Jason Melton says, Justin, I agree with Bret Hart. I agree on Bret Hart. And obviously Justin's back. He says he has more education at 24 than some of these tatted up, pot-belly, hillbilly promoters and commissioners have at age 60.
Facts.
Man, y'all stick together, don't you? Look, Klein's back, and he says, my influences from the 80s would be Bobby Heenan, Jim Cornette, Roddy Piper, Adrian Adonis, and Kurt Hennig. And I don't think you can go wrong with any of those guys. And I see a shitload of Bobby the Brain Heenan in Justin Klein. I do. Justin Klein has got some of the same mannerisms. I see the Bobby the Brain Heenan influence in Klein for sure, man.
Absolutely.
And can't nobody deny that Bobby's probably, truth be told, Bobby's probably the greatest package maybe ever, man. He was he don't get enough credit for being the wrestler he really was.
He doesn't. But you know, Bobby Heenan was okay. Let's go back to this. Let's go back in that time. Let's go, you know, 80s and 90s. That time was ran by Bobby Heenan, pretty much. He had the Heenan family. You know, he took, you know, Andre the Giant to big heights. You know, guys like, you know, Kurt Hennig, Ric Flair. You know, all these guys. And I say that's spot is specific for Heenan. Now in my time, it's going to be someone who is now getting inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and that's Paul Heyman.
I seen your post about Paul Heyman, the well-deserved thing, man. You know, I don't think it was never a question in my mind whether Heyman was going to get in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I always knew Heyman was going in. It does surprise me that it's actually this year. I
think it's perfect timing because I think it's, you know, he's ran his course with Brock Lesnar. He's done amazing things with Roman Reigns at the head of the table, and WrestleMania is in Philadelphia. Why not, you know, at this Mania? It makes perfect sense for this one.
Look, Kyle Driver's back, and he says, I think Hulk Hogan is just way better. Kyle's like 16, so I don't know that I don't even know how he knows Hulk Hogan, to be honest with you.
Whoa.
Kyle, hey, Kyle's watching that old footage, man. He's a Hulkamaniac from the 80s.
Keep watching, because once you get to guys like Flair and Michaels, Hart, Sting, all them, perfect, Mr. Perfect. No, Hulk Hogan is no.
Mark McGee says, I was a team Perfect. Yeah, Perfect. But I'll be honest with you. I like Perfect pre-WWF. I like Perfect pre-Perfect. I liked him in the AWA. You didn't quite get the same Mr. Perfect in the WWF that you got in the AWA.
Yeah, you go back and watch a lot of that stuff, and that's what I've done. And, you know, I'm 24 years old, so you know, I was born in 1999, and you know, it's a lot of stuff back in the 90s and 80s and all that. I've had to go back and watch, but I've done my knowledge, I've done my education and all that stuff, and I'll agree with that. Mr. Perfect back in AWA before pre-WWF was on a different level.
Right. Hey, Jimmy Hart pre-WWF. Everybody knows him from the jackets and the megaphone in WWF, but Memphis, Tennessee, Jimmy Hart, dust WWF Jimmy Hart, my opinion. Of course, I growed up on Jimmy Hart, so I'm kind of biased. Look, Brian Rogers is in here, and he said, if you're not there to be the guy, what are you doing there anyway? And I agree with that. I think there's way too many hobbyists that break into the wrestling business. If you ain't here to try to make this business move, then get out of the way and let somebody else that is trying to make it move get that spot, because the pro wrestling business don't need placeholders. It's as simple as that. It needs guys who's going to push it forward. Brian's back, and he says, words of Tom Pritchard. And there you go, Dr. Tom, man, one of the absolute greatest pro wrestling trainers, period, in the wrestling business over the past probably 30 years, maybe even a little longer. Can't nobody deny that. Kyle come back and he said he's actually 14.
No.
Mark McGee come back and he says, who do you think will induct Paul Heyman? Brock is out of the question. So that's a good question, Mark. Hey, Mark, bring them on, dude. Your questions have both been awesome so far. Who do you think will induct Paul Heyman? I got my idea who's going to induct him.
I don't. Brock was mentioned, in the whole thing with Heyman being inducted. So I don't think he's totally entirely out of question, but I think he's out the door. There's a lot of guys that could. CM Punk. CM Punk could
That's
be
the guy, dude.
CM Punk could be the guy to induct Heyman. Heyman is so. Undertaker, Mark Calloway could be someone to induct Heyman. He was with him in WCW. There's a lot of guys that could be the one to induct Heyman.
I think Punk's the. I think if you ain't got Brock, the perfect person would have been Vince. Vince McMahon. If he was able to, he would be the perfect person to induct Paul Heyman because. Look, everybody's got a Paul Heyman story. They can say what they want, but this dude has been at the cutting edge of the pro wrestling business since day one.
Yep.
I mean, in the 90s, he's the guy. He's the guy that kind of changed, pushed hardcore and the attitude era. Look, here's the thing: without Memphis wrestling, there'd have been no ECW because he stole all that shit from Memphis. Without ECW, there would have been no attitude era, more than likely.
Probably so.
And I think Paul's a perfect choice, and I think CM Punk is the guy who's going to do it. If you can't get Brock, it's got to be Punk. I can't think of nobody else from ECW that would matter. You could bring Tommy Dreamer in, but I don't think it would have the same impact as Punk doing it. Not to mention just Punk doing it's going to get people running their mouth anyway.
Yep.
Look, Justin's back and he said Kyle Driver outed himself as an idiot or maybe trolling. I don't know, dude. I would have never said I was 14. Look, Mark McGee's back and he said, I was thinking Punk, then got to thinking about old ECW talent. I just don't see nobody. I mean, Rob Van Dam, but it ain't going to have the same impact for the WWE.
It's got to be Punk. Before Heyman was with Punk, everyone saw Heyman as, the guy with Lesnar. That's how they saw him. And then Heyman was on, the tail end of Punk's record-breaking championship reign. Right. And Punk pretty much started, the term "I'm a Paul Heyman guy" type deal. So, it's if it's not Brock, it's got to be Punk.
Got to be Punk. I'm with that. Well, look, Andrew, let's go back to EPW for a bit, man. EPW's growing like a weed, dude. Y'all are getting more TV stations across Mississippi. Talk to me about EPW and its growth, man, because it's growing. It's growing like a weed right now.
EPW is growing. We got the My Mississippi deal. We're on Roku. We're on YouTube. We got a TV deal in Alabama. We are all over the place. And if you're not watching us and you love wrestling, then what are you doing? What are you doing? EPW is growing fast. We're packing every single show. So, and we're putting on some of the best product around. So, I mean, it's no question why we wouldn't be on YouTube and Roku and Mississippi and all the other ones that we have coming.
Yeah, I seen the EPW put out a press release a few weeks ago about all the new My Mississippis they're going to be on. Man, that's big stuff, dude.
It is.
It's old school TV too. Here's the thing. It's one thing to be on. Obviously, the young kids, everybody's social media, YouTube, TikTok, all this stuff. But if you still to this day, I 100% believe if you're a local wrestling company, television gives you credibility.
Facts.
Real TV, broadcast television gives you the credibility behind your product, man. And I know it's not what it used to be, but it's still, in my eyes, if you got a good television product that's being syndicated out, man, dude, it's cool as hell. Look, back in the USWA days, man, I had friends that lived in Florida that would get USWA because it was syndicated out to some station up there, man, and they'd be able to watch us on the Saturday morning show. I don't know when they actually got it, what day or nothing, but it's a big deal. It opens up a lot of avenues when you branch out. It's going to allow EPW to go out further and run shows and further away from their home base.
And look at the talent at EPW. Brandon Savage, Maddie the American Baddie, Kay Swiss, Jason Genesis, bringing in guys like Michael Elgin, guys like that, and James Storm. We're putting on great shows, bringing in great talent, and we have great talent. The tag team division, the Punks, the Twins of Salem. Right. We have guys from all sizes, guys like monsters like Walker 13. Just a ton of talent at EPW that can't really match with us. Pretty much, we're putting on great shows and have great talent to do it.
Yeah, I like the variety. I do. Look, Klein, and this is something that I kind of believe too. Klein says, I think we need to get EPW expanded to 60 minutes so we can bring back the talk show segments like Piper's Pit, the Flower Shop, Brother Love Show, Snake Pit, Barbershop, Highlight Reel, Peep Show. I know what Klein's want. He's wanting Klein's Corner, I'm sure.
Klein's Corner, Frat Row TV, something like that. And I like the idea. I do.
I kind of agree too, because man, look, I watch EPW regularly, and man, I get to watching it, and just as it goes off, I wish there was at least, I just wish there was 30 more minutes. Every time when it goes off, man, I always wish, man, I wish the show was an hour. So I kind of agree with Justin on that. Look, Kyle's coming back, man. Justin, you gonna jump all over this when he said Brock made Paul. Who is he today? Paul Heyman was made long before Brock Lesnar even come on the scene.
Exactly. And people like that. Let's go back and do your research here. Okay, before ECW, Heyman was a manager.
Right.
And Paul E. Dangerously, he managed guys like Undertaker, Mark Calloway, in WCW. Stone Cold Steve Austin before he was Stone Cold Steve Austin. Brock Lesnar is credited for keeping Heyman in WWE. I think just because if it wasn't for aligning Heyman with Lesnar, we wouldn't have got so many iconic moments, plus him with CM Punk, and him with Roman Reigns and all that stuff. But Heyman was established way before I was born.
Right, and here's the thing. Heyman's done it all. He actually promoted Bam Bam Bigelow's first ever wrestling match at Studio 54. Think about that. Paul Heyman promoted it as a kid. Even if I'm thinking right, I don't think he was but about 16 or 17 maybe when he promoted this. And I could be wrong about that over the years.
Paul Heyman has a documentary about his rise in the business. Go watch it. For everyone that does not realize the history of Paul Heyman, go watch it, because this man was established a long, long, long time ago.
And here's something, Andrew. You said Brock's kind of credited with keeping Paul Heyman around. I'm going to be honest with you, dude. I don't see that either, because the thing about it, Paul Heyman, anytime he's in WWE, he's always got something to do with creative.
That is true, but let's even go back, when Brock Lesnar first debuted in 2002, and so he left WWE the first time in 2004. Heyman stuck around, became a writer for SmackDown, and he was also the on-screen general manager. And after that, he was part of the rebirth of ECW there, which was a disaster. But after that,
the reburial of ECW is more.
Yeah, pretty much. And after that, he wasn't around until Brock showed back up.
Yeah, but look, man, here's the thing. Even in ECW days, Paul's the only guy that they paid Paul under the table when nobody knew it. Long before social media, they helped Paul stay in business. Back in the day, when ECW struggling, they always cut Paul a check for some reason or another to help Paul stay in business. Whether they just did it as a feeder system because they knew they were going to want this talent, could be. But the fact of the matter is, Paul Heyman's always been in the know. Even before that, go back to WCW. He's always had his hand in behind the scenes stuff, not just on camera. Paul Heyman's an important ass figure in the wrestling business, period.
And look, and Paul Heyman said it several months ago on, I think it was Sports Center or one of those ESPN shows. He called himself the GOAT. Rightfully so. Rightfully so, because Paul Heyman has done so much other than being a manager. If you watch wrestling and don't know the name Paul Heyman, then you're wasting your time.
Yeah, you ain't a wrestling fan. Look, Justin says, picture this, Andrew, the frat house. That's the new little talk show he wants. He wants the frat house.
I like that.
He's back. He said, all these boss moves thanks to Commissioner Bates' business savvy. There you go. He's putting you over again, man. Look, Mark McGee's back. He said, I catch EPW matches from fan lives. Seen what Too Fine Justin Klein post among other talent, and he's way up in New York. I look forward to seeing full events on YouTube. You can go check them out on YouTube.
Yeah, go check them out. YouTube, Roku TV, both of those. Go check them out. We have, great stuff going on.
Mark's back, and he said, Paul Heyman was made when Brock Lesnar was in his daddy's nutsack. Yeah, I agree with that one,
That's
man.
true.
Look, Mark's back. He said, Paul goes back to the late 70s, early 80s. Started out taking photos and pushing them out, just like Cornette. Yeah, he's right about that. He's been in the business his whole life pretty much at that rate. Klein's back, and he says, as you said about liking Mr. Perfect before WWF, I feel that way with Heyman. He managed Adonis, Eddie Gilbert, and the Midnight Express, the Dangerous Alliance. I always dug the Dangerous Alliance, too. That was one of my favorite groups of Heyman's. I'll be honest with you. That was one of my favorite. And then he says in the AWA, dude, Paul's the man. I'll just be honest with you. He definitely deserves his induction. Like I said, I always knew that it wasn't ever a question to me whether he was going to be inducted. It's just when. It kind of surprised me with it being this year. I figured they'd wait another couple of years. And here's something we ain't talked about. We just kind of overlooked Roman Reigns maybe being a possibility to induct Paul Heyman. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't think he'll be Roman. They could shock us. They could shock us, and it could be Roman. But I don't think it'll be Roman because it's the same weekend. We're possibly getting that huge tag match, and then Roman defending that title. I think it's gonna be Punk. We can talk about this till we're blue in the face, but it's gonna be Punk. I think Heyman is doing some of his best work in his current years with Roman Reigns, but it's gonna be Punk.
Yeah, here's the thing, man. For the money they're paying Punk, with him being hurt, I'd have his ass doing anything I could, man. He definitely inducted Paul Heyman.
CM Punk equals ratings. So whether you like him, you don't like him, it doesn't matter because he brings in ratings. If he's announced for a show, people are going to watch. It's just how it is.
Right. Klein's back, and he said he had a cell phone the size of a cinder block. Yeah, that's one of them old school phones. You don't want to get hit with that phone, Klein. That phone will knock you out, man. Look, Mark McGee's back, and he says, what a lot of fans don't realize is Paul is a great personality in the back, helping all the talent with different things. And that's true. Paul here's the thing. Paul is like Jerry Lawler in a sense that through his wrestling career, he has done every job there is to do in the wrestling business. He's been a talent. He's been a booker. He's been a promoter, and he's been an owner. It's hard to you can't knock that resume. You just can't. It's as simple as that. So look, Andrew, we got a few more minutes before we start wrapping it down, dude. And right before we get off, I want you to promote EPW and what y'all got coming up. But since we're talking about managers, Paul Heyman mainly. All right, I'm gonna give you a few managers. You tell me your pick. You got Gary Hart, you got J.J. Dillon, you got Bobby Heenan, you got Jim Cornette, you got Paul Heyman, and I guess that's it. That's where I'm gonna leave it. Out of all 5 of those guys, who do you think is the? Now, I ain't talking about who's the biggest star. We all know right now Paul Heyman's definitely the biggest star. But out of all of those guys, if you had to pick one of those guys to manage the frat row, who would it be?
Oh, and that's kind of difficult because, you know, why would I want to replace Justin Klein in the frat row? And again, I don't think that's my say. I think that's Brandon's say. I think Brandon has to say so of who he wants to manage the frat row. Justin Klein is the perfect fit for Brandon Savage. 110%. No one's going to top that. And I think the person that should answer that question would be Brandon Savage, but I already know what he's going to pick. He's going to pick Too Fine Justin Klein. Who wouldn't?
Well, hold on now. We don't know that Justin Klein ain't going to be a wrestler from now on. We all seen him out there in them tight-ass money shorts he had on. Had his shirt on, man. He had his little knee pads that he bought from Walmart on. I seen this. Suppose Justin Klein decides he's through with being a manager and he's a talent. He's a wrestler from this point on. If Justin Klein's going to wrestle and they're a tag team, now who's going to be their manager?
If Justin Klein became a full-time wrestler and team with Brandon Savage, who's going to be their manager? I still think it's up to them. I still think, but if they wanted me to choose, I'm going with the brain, Bobby Heenan. You know, if they wanted me to choose, just because he's the brain. He's the brain. That's it. But I think, you know what? I think Justin Klein could pull double duty on that. Justin Klein's too good that he could pull double duty. He can not only win the match, but be the manager at the same time.
I don't think he can handle that kind of heat, man. He already gets enough heat when he's doing one. If he does both at the same time,
hey, they're going to shoot him. If you ain't getting hate, if you ain't making enemies, then what are you doing?
Look, Klein says, excuse you talking to me. Then he comes back and says, thank you. What a rude question. Come on, we just getting to the facts, man. Eric J's back and he said, damn, Buster throwing some heat, man. It's just one of them kind of shows. It's one of them kind of nights, man. I had a hell of a weekend, dude. Look, Commissioner Bates, which of them legendary managers would you choose to be Justin Klein's secretary then? Justin Klein's the top guy. Who would you put under Klein?
Heyman.
You think
it's got to be Heyman?
You think Paul Heyman gonna fit under Justin Klein?
Justin Klein, Paul Heyman, sure.
Woo, that'd be a hell of a combination, man. I don't think Justin Klein could handle that because he'd be pissed because Paul's just a heat magnet too. And I think Paul would take some of Klein's heat. And I think
no.
I think Savage would bring them knucks out on Heyman if that happened, man. I think we'd see Brandon Savage knock Heyman out from behind.
Probably.
Tim Davis is on here now. He says, I will manage them, no resume needed. I don't know if you know Tim, man. Hell of a manager. He's been a booker, promoter, wrestler, and he's a heat magnet too, dude. Look, Klein's back and he says, we're going to see a rematch of that tag team match at VIP Wrestling in Tupelo. I seen the little, I seen Bone Crusher and Nova. I seen their promo they cut, man.
Klein's going 2-0.
2-0, man. 2-0. Kyle's back and he says, what about Justin Case? What about Justin Case, Andrew?
What about him?
I don't know. Kyle said, I guess he's throwing him in as with the group of managers.
You threw in some of the top managers in the business. I'm still picking Heyman probably.
There you go, Kyle. He's still picking Heyman.
Heyman or Heenan. They're right there with each other.
Man, look, if Heenan was alive, you got to pick Heenan because you couldn't pass up the chance to work with Bobby Heenan, man. It's just as simple as that. I believe Paul Heyman would pick Bobby Heenan if he had to, man.
More than likely, yeah.
Look, Klein's back, and he said, Savage and I have something called chemistry. It doesn't happen with everyone. And that's the truth too, man. Chemistry is a big deal in the wrestling business. There's no substitute for that, man. Look, you can work and have decent matches with a lot of people and get out there and do a lot of decent stuff with a lot of different guys. But when you find somebody that you just click with,
Yep.
And it's second nature, man, there ain't nothing like it. That's when you get magic in the wrestling business.
Yep.
Jimmy Hart, Jerry Lawler, magic in the wrestling business, man. It just is what it is, man. When you find someone you click with on that level, it changes the whole game.
Right.
So look, Andrew, talk to us about Premier Pro Wrestling right quick. You got I want to say it's on the 22nd of this month. You got a big show in Dyer. You got any idea what your agenda is, dude?
I'm not going to give anyone my agenda because I have some stuff up my sleeve that I'm keeping close to me. There is only one other person that knows exactly what's going on that night at Premier Pro Wrestling. We're going to keep that a secret. But I promise you this, I'm going there to make an impact. I'm going there to kind of seek out some revenge after the last time I was there at Premier Pro Wrestling. And I'm going to make sure I make a huge impact. And also make sure that I watch Brandon Savage become champion.
Man, that's what is that match he's in? Like a five-man
five-way.
scramble?
This dude won a fatal four-way to get a match with the champion, and now he's putting a fatal five-way for the championship. Give me a break. It's ridiculous.
Man, that almost sounds like it was stacked that way. It sounds like the deck was stacked against Brandon, man. I know, look.
It always is. It always is.
I know Klein's got his daddy on that already. Ain't no telling, man. I bet the Premier Pro message machine is just filled up with messages from Klein and his daddy, man. As it should be,
because that not only is that disrespectful to Brandon Savage, but it's disrespectful to Sloppy Slade as champion too.
Yeah, Sloppy Slade's the man. I like Sloppy, man. He is unorthodox, but he is talented in the wrestling ring. And look, Tim Davis is back. Said need someone that ain't scared to slap the shit out of Bone Crusher. I ain't scared of that hillbilly.
I don't know who would be scared of him.
Obviously, Klein come back and said, "I like this Tim guy."
Hey, are we really scared of someone who talks like this really slow? No.
Man, Bone Crusher was a hell of a wrestler back in his day, man.
Back in the day. How long was that ago?
Well, here's the thing about wrestlers. He may not be as good as he always was, but he can be as good as he ever was once, maybe. Justin Klein's back, and he says, I plan on slapping him. Klein's back and says, it's going to be an epic night at Premier Pro. Kyle's back and says, it makes all the sense. He has to earn his shot. You know, I really think it's a disadvantage to Sloppy Slade.
It's a disadvantage to Sloppy Slade, and it's disrespectful to Brandon Savage. If you put me in a fatal four-way, I got to beat three other guys, and you tell me I got to do this in order to get a championship match with Sloppy Slade. I'm like, cool, great. And then I win the match, and then you put me in a fatal five-way where I got to beat four guys to be champion. I got to now it's a bigger stage. It's a bigger match. I got to beat more people in order to be champion. Give me a break. That's just ridiculous.
Well,
there's a reason why I'm EPW commissioner. It's for stupid crap like that.
Here's the thing, though. I don't remember them specifying what type of match.
It doesn't matter.
They said he would get a shot. Now, technically, he's getting a shot at the belt. There just happens to be four other guys.
It doesn't matter. Look, I guarantee, if Tigre would have won that match, he'd get a one-on-one match with Sloppy Slade.
Well, here's the thing, though, Andrew. Maybe they're looking at what you do over at EPW, and maybe they're taking notes, man. Maybe you stack the deck for the front row for sure. We know that, and you can't deny that. So maybe they figured turnabout's fair play, man.
How is that fair? How is that? Yeah.
So hold on. If y'all are getting the short end of the stick, it's not fair. But if somebody else is getting it, it's perfectly fair, right?
How? Like I made sure that EPW is ran properly, and now Brandon Savage is not being screwed over by Bone Crusher. Now he's won the Crossroads Cup. And Daniel Nova wants to cry and interrupt my show. He gets put in a handicap match for punishment. Okay? Anybody else would happen the same way. And then at Premier's run by a bunch of crooks anyway. It's
Look, Mark McGee come back and he said that was a screw job against Brandon Savage. And then Justin's back and he says, is Brian Rogers still in here? We need some answers on those to be determined competitors.
You ain't going to get them, Klein. You ain't going to get them, and we both know it, unfortunately.
Look, Klein's back and he says, Kyle, stop commenting. Klein says, stop commenting, man. Justin's back again. He said, Bone Crusher was a jobber to Sputnik Monroe and Luthez. I don't quite think Bone Crusher's quite that old, man. I'll be honest with you. It's funny as hell, but I don't think he's quite that old, man. Justin's back and he said, exactly. What matches did these three mystery men win to get this opportunity? And
exactly. They're sitting in the back. They're sitting in the back, not earning their opportunity. They're watching all Brandon Savage earn his opportunity. And then Brian Rogers comes back there and says, hey, y'all want to be in this championship match, even though y'all sat on y'all's tail and didn't do anything? Sure, why
not? I will agree with Klein on the fact that, it is sort of unfair that these other guys are getting a shot and they didn't have to earn that opportunity.
Brandon Savage has to prepare for Sloppy Slade. Sloppy Slade has to prepare for Brandon Savage. You can't prepare for unknown competitors. And now these competitors know they're in the match and they get to prepare for Brandon Savage and Sloppy Slade, even though them two have no idea who it is.
What if Klein's inserted into that match as a wrestler?
What if he is?
Well, I mean, do you think Klein would let Brandon Savage become the champion over him if he had the opportunity?
I think Klein will do what's best for business.
He always does what's best for frat row business. We know that anyway, for sure. Look, Mark McGee's back and he said, I heard Bone Crusher was trained by William Muldoon back in the 1920s. Once again, I don't think he's quite that old, dude.
Oh, I don't know.
Justin's back and says, Daniel Nova is a punk. He intentionally tries to hurt Brandon.
True.
Well, I mean, it's wrestling. It's not ballet, man. It's as simple as that, man. And Justin's back and he said, we just have to be smarter than the other four. And from what I've seen around the locker rooms, that shouldn't be too hard.
Yeah,
Klein's always got the last word. Well, look, Andrew, we're fixing to wrap it up. But before we do, man, tell us about everything that's going on in EPW and anything y'all got coming up. You got any big shows coming up?
We're going to be back at Boonville this Saturday for another TV taping. Back at Boonville, EPW. We got more TV tapings coming down. We're going to be in Manatee. More house shows, more TV to be announced. Huge stuff happening at EPW. Look, it was announced today that tickets are $10 at EPW this Saturday. If you ain't coming to EPW, you're wasting your time doing anything else. Come out and see some great wrestling. Come out and see these guys and these girls put on wonderful and exciting 5-star matches for y'all. And I guarantee you won't be disappointed, especially with me booking the show. I mean,
y'all heard it right there. Look, Eric J come back and he said, it's this simple. To be the champion, you got to beat the champion. Yeah, it's a Ric Flair statement, man. You got to beat the champion. Going to be a rough night all the way around. Sloppy Slade and Brandon Savage, I think maybe both of them got screwed, dude. It might be just as simple as that. Maybe both of them got screwed. Andrew, dude, it's my pleasure, man. I know you've been busy, even more busy than you normally are since you got the newfound commissionership at EPW, dude. I appreciate you coming on. It's been a blast, man. I appreciate you answering these fan questions, dude. And you know this, you're always welcome, my friend.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
Andrew, you take it easy, man. And
thank you.
I wish you all the best with EPW commissionership.
Absolutely.
You have a good night.
You too.
All right, guys, you heard it right there. EPW commissioner. Got all the power in the world. EPW's on the rise, doing a lot of big things. opening up a lot of television markets, all kind of stuff. You do not want to miss EPW if you get a chance to go see them. Look, guys, tomorrow night, I got another EPW guy. I got the GOAT, the greatest of all time. K-Swiss will be here with me tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Then Wednesday night, I got two legit Justin Daniels. He's one half of the APW Tag Team Champions. He's going to be with me Wednesday night. And then Thursday night, I got the coup de grace. I got the AIWF World Heavyweight Champion and Mr. Pro Wrestling Mid-South, Greg Golden Boy Anthony. He's going to be with me Thursday, guys. I appreciate everybody who tuned in and watched, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night, 7 p.m.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah. Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.